Okay, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a chance to take a quick break and that you're excited about this next session. So the next session is called It's Not All About Driving Fast, Automakers Charging in Hydrogen. I'm delighted to have some of the finest automaker representatives from GM, Ford, Toyota, and BMW present during this session. Each are Veloz members and work every day to bust barriers and advance the zero-emission vehicle sector. Each automotive representative will address what their company is doing to move ZEV infrastructure forward faster, and each speaker has agreed to address a different aspect of the ZEV infrastructure challenge and ID opportunities in a quick 4 to 5 minute presentation. So let's start with you, Alex. Alex is the lead architect for EV charging at GM. So welcome, Alex.
Thanks, Josh, and nice to talk to everybody. It's been a long time since the PEV collaborative days, so it's good to huddle. One of the sort of contexts of what Josh and the team asked us to sort of look at was, what keeps us up at night, and certainly a lot of things keep me up at night, including my puppy. But the reality is thinking through how do we put the puzzle pieces together, right? Not only from the vehicle side of things, but infrastructure. You've all seen the studies that sort of show that infrastructure is certainly one of the top considerations, but it's not just infrastructure, right? When we talk about infrastructure, like the last panel, you're talking about multi-unit dwellings, you're talking about rural, you're talking about public, you're talking about home, you're talking about a whole myriad of individual use cases that we have to think about in terms of helping our customers along. And so, my word, if I was to think about the issue, and I think I said this many moons ago around this table, is scale, right? We really have to reimagine the amount of infrastructure that needs to be deployed. And scale is just not only the magnitude, but also the location, from fleets to rural partners to communities where it doesn't make a lot of economic sense to put infrastructure in initially, but you have to put all those puzzle pieces together. So the way my team and I think about this is, how can GM be a catalyst? What the role we like to play is to be able to let infrastructure experts be infrastructure experts, but come along and plant the seeds to help to accelerate the role of what they would already be doing, or perhaps something that they would already be doing in the future because of different reasons. And so, a few of these examples represent the breadth of the activities we're doing and will continue to do. Stay tuned. There might be an announcement this week also, just to really think about new ways of reimagining our role. So, obviously last year we made an announcement to work with a great partner in EVgo to go accelerate the installation of 2,700 plus charging stations in about 40 MSAs throughout the country, including getting them in highly visible places that people are already spending time in. We got some great data from our customers in aggregate that show us, hey, you're going to spend 45 minutes here already. Let's put infrastructure there, right? It's better than the alternative because you're already going there. Earlier this year, I think we did something pretty unique and really important. We know a lot of the folks who are sitting on the outside looking in to electrification, they do have concerns about home charging. Those of us who know home charging know it's super convenient, super easy for once you get the car. But there are a lot of people sitting on that sideline. So to get them off that sideline with the Bolt EV and the Bolt EUV launch, what we've done is we're offering essentially the installation of the circuit to be able to plug in a 240 volt charger that comes with the vehicle these days. So again, make it really easy for folks. They don't have to worry about the electrician. We got it handled. All you got to do there is be home and available to get it installed. And then another thing that I think is unique about us is we actually enter into one-on-one direct relationships with all of our partners. So that chart there in the upper right really describes our relationship directly with everybody from the Blinks of the world to the SemaConnects of the world. Our notion is, how do we create those relationships directly so we can manage that customer experience moving forward. And speaking of customer experience, a few months ago, we also announced, which I thought was a really neat way of characterizing sort of our commitment, not just at the vehicle level, but broadly to the charging level and making sure that charging experience for our customers, whether it's the network availability, whether it's products as services, whether it's integrating with your app, to put all of those pieces together under one umbrella called Altium Charge 360. So the notion there is how do we really build this comprehensive experience for customers so they don't have to worry? And we were putting the puzzle pieces in place to go grow the scale. So appreciate the opportunity today to catch up with folks. Really important puzzle pieces here on infrastructure, and look forward to what my other fellow OEMs have to say as well.
Yeah, Alex, thanks so much, and delighted to hear about your turnkey solution for folks that can charge at home. I'll just quickly note that Veloz recently launched a home charging advisor. So if you go on electricforall.org, click on the home charging advisor link, you can look, at least for the California audience, for all the UL listed home chargers that are available. That's the level 2 chargers. And then as we bring on more administrators, you're going to be able to actually apply for level 2 home charging incentives through our electricforall.org website. So watch that space as we continue to mature that resource. So next we have Matt Stover, who is the Director of Charging Services at Ford. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Josh, and thanks to everyone for joining us this afternoon. So that was a great overview. I wanted to talk about a couple things. First, Ford's plans as we've thought through our strategy related to electrified vehicles. We introduced our new plan a few years back, and when we made that announcement, we announced a $20 billion investment into EVs. Over the course of the last few years, that investment has grown by 50% plus, and we're over $30 billion through 2025, with an expectation that we'll have about 40% of our fleet electrified by 2030. That strategy really was built on 4 foundational pillars. Number one, we needed to play to our strengths from a brand standpoint because we wanted to leverage the brand capability and brand attributes that we'd already developed and delivered with some of our most strong and iconic vehicles. Number two, we realized that scale and technology is very, very important. Scale from a cost standpoint and technology from the perspective of the demands of this new customer. The last piece, and this is really what I want to talk about today, is the business case needed to be built on new business models. And that's really recognizing 2 different things. Number one, this customer isn't just buying a vehicle, to Alex's point before. They need to buy an ecosystem of capabilities that help support that vehicle. And number 2, help leverage the capabilities of that vehicle. As we've made some recent announcements as it relates to bidirectional power, and we'll have other opportunities and announcements in the future. We see these vehicles as being more than just a mobility tool. We see them as being something that can help power our consumers' lives. Now, I mentioned this idea of the ecosystem being key to the EV experience. As was mentioned before, charging at home is just terrific for our consumers. It's one of these things that when the consumer thinks about owning an EV is a real problem at the beginning, but once they realize and the goal of installing the capability at their homes, it becomes a real convenience. There are 2 necessary things that we have to bring to the consumers, though. Number one is there are consumers that just can't charge at home. And number 2, there's this issue of charge and range anxiety. And customers need to have an understanding of where they can charge when they're on the go for an emergency situation, or in order for them to use their vehicle as a primary vehicle and take their vehicles on long trips. And we, like General Motors, are committed to supporting our network partners in the development of public charging infrastructure. We think that those folks that play in this industry right now are best suited to play in this industry. They have the skills and capabilities. And we've deployed a network of network strategies to work with a variety of the public charging operators to create a national network so that our consumers can simply access charging and use the tools that we offer to them through either the HMI of the vehicle or through our various product apps. One of the things that the industry has worked at over the last 10 years is this idea of interoperability. And you see the fruits of that labor when we look at our charging statistics as it relates to AC charging. The charging predictability there is rather high. As we introduce new vehicles, we're going to see over from Ford and other OEMs, 100 plus EVs over the course of the next 4 years. And we see new hardware coming into the market, and we see new software releases coming into the market. And one of the things that we would like to do, we'll be announcing an initiative here over the course of the back half of this year, is working with our network partners and hardware providers to create a more robust ecosystem of interoperability. We think that we're all in this together. And as we think through the customer experience, you can read through Unplug Share, this experience as a collective ecosystem, needs to continue to improve, and we need to work with each other on that measure. So over the course of this back half of the year, we'll be announcing a few new initiatives, and we look forward to working with folks on this panel as well as in the market to ensure that the ecosystem is as robust and simple to use for our customers. So with that, I will pass the baton, Josh.
Great. Thanks so much, Matt. Everybody's talking about that Lightning vehicle, so keep up the good work. And interoperability is a really important issue to tackle. So thank you for those remarks. Up next, we have Mike Lord, who is the Executive Engineer of Sustainability and Regulatory Affairs at Toyota. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you, Josh. So I want to change gears a little bit. So Toyota, actually, I just wanted to mention Toyota is one of the few OEMs currently that is working on all aspects of vehicle electrification. So we have fuel cell, battery electric, and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. Each have their role, and I just wanted to note that it's really not about a specific technology, but it's really about getting to our goals of carbon reduction and carbon neutrality. But today I want to talk about fuel cell. Fuel cell electric vehicles, just to note, there are about 10,000 vehicles in the market right now, 8,000 plus are Toyota Mirai. You can see a picture of that. The box there is in the top left. One of the conversations we have quite a bit is about multi-unit dwellings and charging at home. We think that battery electric and plug-in hybrids are good for that when you can do it, but for where you don't have the ability to charge at home, fuel cell electric vehicles are actually also a very good option. You cannot charge at home, which is good for people that cannot charge at home. You need public infrastructure. Also, which is nice about it is there's no change in behavior. You go to a gasoline station with a hydrogen pump and fill in 3 to 5 minutes. So I want to talk a little bit about what that means and then get into what we're doing. So on the right is a new station in Newport Beach. Modern station, the newer ones are 2 or 3 times larger than the original ones, between 8 and 1,200 kilograms a day. The original ones are 200, 300, 400 at the most, and may have 2 pumps with 2 nozzles each. A station like that could fill 10 vehicles per nozzle per hour. If you think about what that means, in a 1,000 kilogram a day station, you can service actually 1,500 individual FCs over time. So there's words on here that are not showing up on the slide. I'm sorry about that. Maybe there's an issue with how you're projecting that. So the stations, like you say, are a very good option for folks that can't charge at home. And what we're doing, Toyota actually, in all the fuel cell OEMs are providing free fuel in these initial years when the station still are expensive and fuel is expensive. We expect in the future to have parity with gasoline, but for now we're paying for fuel. And if you just do basic math, we pay up to $15,000 for fuel, the OEMs do, 10,000 vehicles. That's a 150 up to now, $150 million commitment to support the stations. We are also working with Shell with vehicle commitments on their station build-out plan, and also supporting Iwatani to help fill the gap in Southern California due to the slower than expected build-out from CEC funding. So what we really need to do going forward is we need to accelerate the station build-out. Right now, what is the drag on volume is stations. There's just not enough station capacity, both amount of fuel and numbers. And that's because this build out has been much slower than expected. We should be at 100 stations plus, and we're at 47. So that's important. Also meeting the Governor Brown's executive order of 200 stations by 2025. And then finding a way of funding stations according to the California Fuel Cell Partnership vision of 1,000 stations that cover the state. That will cover all communities in the state. So I just wanted to note that, for hydrogen, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. It's the same model for both customers and the business side. The customers know how to fill vehicles, and we know where they go and where the stations are and where they need to be. And customers are familiar with that. And just to note that this is also a way to allow gasoline station owners, which tend to be mom and pop operations, to also participate in the zero emission future. So I'll stop there, and I guess we'll pass the baton back to Josh.
Great, thanks so much, Mike. I think bottom line is we need more hydrogen refueling stations, and we need them faster. And your latest Mirai is beautiful. I see it there in the backdrop of your screen. So thanks for teasing us all with that beautiful car.
That's my personal one.
Oh, that's your personal car. Oh, fantastic. Well, last and certainly not least, we have Jan Freeman, who is the head of Connected E-Mobility at BMW. Welcome, Jan.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for having me. Hello and welcome, everybody. I go again back into the direction, a little bit more into Matthew's direction, back to our electric battery vehicles. And I want to talk about infrastructure, public infrastructure, smart charging, and share a little bit of insight there from our perspective. So I think everybody can agree that a broadly available, reliable, and accessible public charging infrastructure is one of the main requirements for EV adoption. And that's also why, for example, we at BMW over the last years have put out together with partners or deployed charging infrastructure in different markets to reduce actually range anxiety and increase the convenience for our EV customers. In 2017, for example, I'm sure you have heard about this, is BMW invested into Ionity, which is actually a joint venture together with other partners to create a pan-European high-power charging network, which enables long-distance travel for our customers and actually has up to 400 high-power chargers. And there's also the possibility, of course, to further expand it. In 2019, we completed here in the US actually a project with the National Park Foundation, where we deployed AC and DC chargers in different national parks so that Americans can enjoy actually the national parks and get a little bit on charge of charging on the side. But everybody is aware that if the EV market continues to grow and the numbers go higher, it's also important to understand actually what is the impact of electric vehicles to the grid, and how can we actually ensure that we charge with renewable energy instead of just using whatever is available. For most people, and that's where I shift over to my slide here. For most people, what they know is that renewable energy generation shifts dramatically through the day. And that's also what you can see here on this slide with an example from California. And it changes with the weather. By using smart charging, actually, charging events can follow these changes. And we can help to support the grid to work with more renewable energy. starting in 2016 as a pilot, actually, and in 2021 we rolled it out. This year, we have a smart charging program in place called Charge Forward, which is running right now in California, and which moves actually EV charging away from times when electricity is in high demand and toward times when there's more renewable energy in the grid. So how does it work actually? So the utilities we are working with are sending forecast signals via OpenADR about the projected status to the grid of the grid to BMW. And then the BMW software in the back end calculates actually the charging profiles according to the available renewable energy to maximize the renewable energy consumption during the charging process, or to actually optimize the charging process in terms of costs. And then we send the information to the vehicle via a telematic interface and optimize the car according to the spec. And the best thing actually with this program and other smart charging programs is that the achieved grid savings of the utility from moving actually charging into off-peak times are going back as incentives to our customers. And we as BMW are convinced that smart charging and then also further vehicle-to-grid integration will help power grids to handle more electric vehicles and accelerate also the mass adoption of EVs by actually lowering the cost for our customers and offer greener ways to charge electric vehicles. That is my part for smart charging, but I also want to refer to the second question actually Josh asked us before in the preparation time, and which was what keeps you up at night regarding charging for your EVs. And I want to share some or one situation. Actually, I was at my doctor's office, right? And my doctor has this a nice parking garage with fancy new charging stations. And actually, I drove there, and I had my two CPO issued RFID cards with me. Yeah, and I tried them obviously, and nothing worked. And so I wasn't sure if there's any roaming agreement with those chargers. So I tried to download the app, and then I had bad LTE reception. So there was also no CC or credit card reader on the device. So I ended up not charging my car at all. There was a big opportunity for me to get some free charge on the bill of my doctor, but I couldn't make it, right? That was actually frustrating. And that's something our customers from all the OEMs here in the whole industry experience from time to time when you approach public chargers with no membership or no accepted authorization or payment methods, right? And as a new customer, I think it's very important that you got reliable access to all the charging infrastructure. This is essential, right? And this requires actually roaming. So delivering electric vehicle roaming services is profoundly complex, requiring also negotiated terms between OEMs and CPOs. And you have to consider various protocols and tax rates, etc. But actually, from the customer perspective, this is what the customer needs, right? E-roaming ecosystems can be a potential solution to this mess I just described. And it gives actually EV charging customers the peace of mind with a complete elimination then of range anxiety, because you know that you can charge anywhere at any time. And you can travel with a lot of charging points available at a lot of different locations. You have great transparency about tariffs and your pricing models. And everybody can enjoy this little bit better seamless charging experience, even at my doctor's office then, right?
Wonderful. Well, hey, I just want to thank all four of you, Alex, Matt, Michael, and Jan, for participating in this session and for agreeing to kind of this short format that we did. I appreciate you each picking, one topic to focus on. We barely scratched the surface, but I appreciate you highlighting your priorities on ZEV infrastructure, and we'll have another conversation again soon. So thank you so much for your time.